Thinking about relocating to Dallas? Now listen, DFW is booming, but there are some things you need to know before you pack up that moving truck. Things from shifting foundations, surprise tax bills, mystery letters regarding MUDs and PIDs, the traffic that does not settle down, and a metro so big that you can live in and still be an hour away from your family. I'm gonna walk you through 8 realities so you can plan smart and avoid any regrets. So stay to the end because I want to tell you guys one of the major things and cons about moving to DFW that most people completely miss. Hi, I'm Dee Walton, your Dallas real estate broker and relocation expert. I help a lot of families and buyers move to the DFW area every single week, and I'm here to give you the unfiltered version and tea of what it's really like to live here. So you can make a smart, confident decision, and if at any point you are like, I need some help figuring out my move, you can call me or text me at the information that was on your screen, and we can get together to have a strategy call on your move, your time frame, and your overall goals of getting to Texas. So let's start with something that freaks people out: foundation. In parts of DFW, really most of it, but in especially cities like Richardson, Garland, Carrollton, and many parts of Dallas, we have expansive clay soil, plus the heat and drought cycles that cause the ground to move, expand, and contract. And that movement leads to foundation cracks, especially in older homes and those without proper drainage. So here's the thing, foundation issues are common, but they're not always catastrophic. You just have to be informed and proactive. When you're buying, you always want to make sure to double check any type of past foundation repair requests, reports, warranties, and who did the work. You also want to make sure that you hire a local inspector who knows what's normal here and what's not here when it comes to shifting homes. You want to make sure that you're looking at grading and drainage and how the water flows around the house. It may matter more than you think. Also too, you tend to have a lot of foundation issues for homes where the previous homeowner did not water the grass properly. Here in Texas, it's hot nearly 8 to 9 months out of the year, so making sure to water that grass so that the soil has enough moisture to allow the house to shift properly is really, really important. If needed, you want to make sure you get a structural engineer, get their opinion. This is usually free or even a couple of $100, but it can save you thousands, and it also can be an opportunity to give you some leverage to negotiate repairs or credits. This is one of those things that where being aware is your best tool. You don't really want to be afraid of it. You just want to do your due diligence. So true story, I sold a house in Denton about 2 or 3 years ago to one of my clients that moved in town from Oklahoma. And when we walked the house, we immediately knew that it had foundation issues. And instead of her being scared of them and walking away, it was really one of those, let's see how much damage we have. So we got a foundation engineer out, and ultimately we were able to get the seller to pay for most of the repairs that were needed with a lifetime warranty. So like I said before, foundation issues are sometimes going to come up. You have to make a decision on if you want to purchase a house that needs repairs or if you just don't want to be bothered with it all. But if you're moving to Dallas, do not be surprised by foundation issues. So if you watched any of my other pros and cons video or reasons why people are leaving Dallas, Texas doesn't have state income tax. And while that's great for your paycheck, it means that our property taxes are a little bit higher here in DFW. So the national average property tax rate is about 1%, but here in North Texas, it's not unusual to see an effective tax rate of anywhere between 2 up to 2.7%, depending on the city, the school district, and whether or not the neighborhood has any special taxing districts. More on that next. But what makes it tricky is that your tax bill can increase as your home value increases. And while Texas is a non-disclosure state, meaning that we don't actually share our home values with the public, you can appeal your tax assessment if the taxes feel a little too high. Every year, homeowners get their appraisal notice, and most of them can just pay it, but you don't have to. You can actually protest with comps, condition photos, and any additional supporting data that you feel like would support your appeal. Also, don't forget that you want to make sure if you buy a home here in the DFW area that you apply for your homestead tax exemption. If this is your primary residence, file for it. It reduces your taxable value up to $100,000, and it can actually help cap how much it increases year over year. That alone can save you hundreds annually. So yes, the taxes are high, but there are ways to manage them, but you just need to stay proactive. So speaking of taxes, I want to talk a little bit more about some of the special tax assessments that we have here in the DFW area, especially if you are buying new construction. We want to talk about MUDs and PIDs, something a lot of buyers don't even know about, and it is not often that the sales reps tell you about it if you're not using a realtor to represent you for that particular home. If you're looking for new construction in some cities like Salina, Aubrey, Royce, Princeton, Melissa, or even Anna, you want to make sure that you understand if that home has a MUD or a PID. These booming suburbs are adding beautiful master plan communities at a very fast pace, but that growth is funded through a municipal utility district tax or a public improvement district tax. So here's a quick breakdown of both. A MUD pays for the essential infrastructure like water, sewer, drainage. Homeowners pay it back over time as part of their tax bill, and a PID pays for things like roads, landscaping, and amenity centers. And they also pay for fiber internet. And it shows up as an assessment, sometimes annually or in a lump sum, depending on where your home is being purchased. This means that your property tax rate could be much higher in a brand new community than it would be in an established home, and even if the home is similarly priced. So before you fall in love with some of the new construction communities, especially if they are far north or far south in the DFW area, you want to make sure to ask the builder or the sales rep for a full tax breakdown, including any MUD or PID that may be applicable to the home. And once you get that data, you want to compare what it would be like paying in total taxes to a similar resale home in a neighboring city. You also want to make sure that you can find out if the PID can be paid off early and or transferred. So it's nothing wrong with buying a home that has a MUD or a PID. I sell home in these communities all the time, but you want to make sure that you understand the cost of that lifestyle and the cost of living in that home based on its taxes. So I feel like a broken record in some of these videos where I'm talking about the traffic here in Dallas. And one thing I hear all the time is once the construction is done, traffic will improve. Nope. Traffic in DFW does not get better. It just moves around. And that is because nearly 500 people move to DFW every day, and our roads just cannot keep up. There's always an expansion, another toll road, another project, another delay. And the new homes that go up further and further out in places like Royce City, Anna, Princeton, Salina, Melissa, or Aubrey, those commutes are getting longer. So what can you do? You can make sure that you're mapping. I think when I'm out with my clients, I actually ask that all the time. Have you mapped this? Have you mapped this to work? Have you mapped this to your friends and family? Have you mapped it to church? If you have a hybrid work schedule, that might open up your options a little bit. But if the commute time is a really big factor for you, you want to make sure you're weighing that in just as much as you are regarding the house that you're purchasing, the square footage, the yard sign, etc. The traffic here is really just a part of life, so plan accordingly and don't let it catch you off guard. So another con, I believe, in realty that you need on moving to DFW is that there's over 200 plus cities here. Everybody says they live in Dallas, but most times they don't. They live in Richardson or Mesquite, or they live in Prosper, Texas. But you're gonna hear Dallas because it is a huge metropolitan area. When people say they're moving here, I always ask, well, which Dallas? Because DFW has over 200 cities and towns and is the fourth largest metropolitan area here in the country. So that means that you can live in Dallas County and still be 45 minutes from downtown Dallas. Or you might find a dream home in McKinney and only realize that your office is in Irving and the drive is about 90 minutes with traffic. So before you shop for houses, you really need to narrow down where you want to live based on the commute to work, the school district if that applies to you, the lifestyle that you want to have. You want to make sure that you are considering things like walkability, if you want to be close to downtown or a lake. The suburbs are full of big, beautiful homes with big backyards, so you want to make sure you understand what amenities are important to you. The suburbs are also full of communities with parks and trails, as well as community events, and others like a little bit more of a quieter, more rural type of community as well. So I always recommend making a list of your must-haves, your nice-to-haves, and your deal breakers, and that will help you kind of choose between the top 3 or 4 areas before you even go on the tour of your first home. So the number 6 thing I want to give you that's the real tea here in Dallas is that it's flat. It's pretty flat. I lived in California for a short while, and let me tell you, Mother Nature is the GOAT on the West Coast and also the East Coast, where it's unmatched. Beaches, mountains. I was just in Vegas a couple of weeks ago, and just being able to see the mountains is a really beautiful and spiritual thing. But here in DFW, it's flat, so you're not gonna get any of that. So while we do have some beautiful spots here like White Rock Lake, the Katy Trail, Arbor Hills, Cedar Ridge Preserve, it is not the kind of scenery that will take your breath away. Mountain biking here is for the workout, not the views, but DFW shines in other ways. Affordable homes, relatively strong job market, amazing food, and top tier sports, and 2 major airports. So just reset your expectations on the landscape of DFW, especially depending on where you came from, and you'll be better off to enjoy what Dallas has to offer. So the number 7 thing that I want to tell you about when it comes to moving to DFW is that we don't have any basements here. If you're moving from the Midwest or the Northeast, you might be wondering, where are the basements? I get that a lot when I'm on tours with my clients. Simple answer, we don't have them. The Texas soil, especially in DFW, is heavy with clay, which expands and contracts. And combine that with high water tables, it just isn't worth it for the builders to dig down. So instead, homes are built on slab foundations. You'll store things in like an attic, a garage, or even an outdoor shed. And for storm safety, people use interior closets or reinforced safe rooms. Unless you're buying a really older home, there are some homes that do have tornado shelters, but not many, and not very much of the new ones. So it's just part of life here, but definitely something to know if you are used to having a finished basement. All right, so finally, I wanted to save the best one for last, number 8. DFW is big, and I know you're probably thinking, duh, you say that all the time in all of your videos, but I really can't stress this enough. This is one that tends to surprise people the most. I'll ask someone what brings them to Dallas, and they'll say, my daughter lives here, or my brother's in town, right? And they want to be closer to their family, and they want to look at a house that is in DeSoto, but their family lives in Anna. Well, Anna and DeSoto is about an hour apart. So if seeing your grandkids every weekend is a big reason for you moving here, do the math first, drive it. Don't just assume it's close because it's Dallas. The same goes for friend groups or church homes. If being near someone is important to your lifestyle, build your location around that and not just what's affordable or what house looks cute on Zillow. And the reason why I say that and reason why that's so important is because family is one of those number 1 reasons why people make a move oftentimes. And if you move to Dallas and you never see them, it's gonna be just like you lived where you came from. So I have that experience a lot of times. If I follow up with clients a few months of them being here, it's like they moved here for their family, but I haven't really seen them because Dallas is so big. So again, you want to make sure that that is something that you're really considering, that you are mapping out where your family is so that if you're moving from them, that you can see them often. So there you have it, 8 realities that nobody's probably telling you about on your move to DFW, but I want to make sure you know that so you are empowered with all of the things that you need to be knowledgeable about moving to the area. From foundation issues to our property taxes, MUDs and PIDs, the traffic, as well as a big sprawling metropolitan area. These are things that are really important. I want to make sure that you do your diligence before you move to the area. But when you're ready, you can use the link below in my description box to book a call so that we can talk about your goals, your time frame, and your strategy for getting you to the DFW area. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.